Welcome, adventure seekers. We're uncommon voyagers, otherwise known as Mandy and Greg, Brisbane, Australia's almost empty nesters, about to turn our midlife crisis into an Italian escapade. Our mission? Spend 2025 getting ready to make the life-changing move to Italy. We'll be juggling home renovations, Italian house hunting, planning slow travel, prepping our kids to survive without us, and cramming our entire life into 2 suitcases. If you love big dreams with a sprinkling of chaos, we'd love for you to come along for the ride. Hit subscribe. It'll be bellissimo.
Hi guys, welcome back. Today's going to be a relatively quick one. I did get some questions from some people, so I thought I would clarify. I think I popped some information in my first video about how Greg and I are able to purchase a home in Italy, and I just wanted to clarify that in a super quick one so that it's easier for people to kind of just see what the process is for us as Australians. So Greg and I were both born in Australia, so we're Australian. However, Greg's dad is English. He was born in the UK, and all of my family was born in the UK. So I'm essentially first generation Australian in my family, and I'm able to get a British passport. So I have a few issues with the way my name is spelt, which has mucked up my ability to apply for things. It's my middle name. Let's just say that it's spelt differently a few different ways on some of my paperwork, and I'm of the age where nothing was digital, it was all just typed. So when someone's made a mistake, it's made it really difficult. It's followed me my whole life, but essentially it's really difficult for me to get official things done. So just for expediency, it was super easy for Greg to get his British passport. He had it years ago and then it expired, and then probably about 6 months ago we went and applied for his British passport again, just because you need a British passport or you need a Canadian passport, because I believe it's just opened up to Canadians as well to buy property in Italy, or if you have US citizenship as well. You'd have to Google your personal circumstance depending on, essentially where your parents were born or where you were born. But Australians aren't able to buy property in Italy. Now, what that means is if you actually Google buying property in Italy as an Australian, it doesn't tell you that you can't. It says, there is reciprocal agreements. At this point in time, that's actually incorrect, which means that Italians can't buy property in Italy, and so Italians can't buy property in Australia, and that means that Australians can't buy property in Italy. So the way that we're getting around that is Greg's British passport, essentially. So we sent off and applied for his passport again, but that was just the first step in the process. So if you watch any of A Home in Italy, Dave Benton's channel, he does have these information live. He goes live and talks about things, bits and pieces that you need, so it's actually really interesting to listen to. It's very skewed towards the American market, but I assume that would likely be his biggest market. So he doesn't ever really touch on Australians, but I did email him and he confirmed that you do need, you can't buy a house in Italy as an Australian. So we have Greg's passport. Now, back in October 2023, when I first started talking about doing this or thinking about it, I thought to myself, I like to get all my ducks in a row. So I knew I'd emailed Dave and he said, you need to, well, actually, I must have emailed after, because I just thought, I Googled and it said that Australia had reciprocal agreements. So I actually got onto the website, the consulate, the Italian consulate in Brisbane. So I got onto their website because I knew that I needed something called a Codice Fiscale, or a Codice Fiscale, however you want to say it. I say Codice Fiscale. So essentially what that is, it's not a tax file number, but it is an official tax number, and you do need that number to be able to purchase a house. So I got on there and it just said, fill in this form and then send through some ID, and we'll get back to you in a week or two. Now, a week or two went by, and I will tell you, I don't know what other consulates are like in Australia, because obviously I haven't needed to ring them, but they're open to speak to someone like an hour in the afternoon on a Wednesday and an hour in the afternoon on a Friday. I tried for weeks and weeks and weeks to get through because I hadn't heard anything. I'd sent off a couple of emails saying, if you could just give me a time frame, that would be great. Never heard back. Anyway, one Friday I struck gold and I was able to speak to someone, and she basically said to me, yeah, you should hear back soon. If something's wrong, we'll contact you. And I thought, oh, well, maybe these things just take a while to do. She never asked me if potentially it was because I'd sent through my Australian passport and they were just ignoring me because it wasn't relevant to them. But let's just say I never heard a thing back since 2023. So one can assume that if you don't have the right information, they don't tell you, they just don't answer. So I must have reached out to Dave Benton then and said, look, I'm having a really bad time trying to get this Codice Fiscale, because he does recommend having that before you go and try and purchase something, because it's just something that you have to do anyway. So if you can get that out of the way to begin with, it's just easier. So I messaged Dave and he said, no, the problem is that it's because you're using your Australian passport. Do you have any other nationalities or anything that you can use? And I said, well, we could potentially get a British passport. And he said, that's the winner. So that's when I kind of mucked around for a little while and then applied for Greg's passport. Keeping in mind, when I say I applied for it all, Greg doesn't do any of that sort of stuff. He just looks after the renovating kind of things and asks me how things are going. So I got his passport, and then about, I'd say 2 weeks ago, I reapplied for the Codice Fiscale for him, but I'd actually sent it to the incorrect email address. I'll actually put the correct email address here, and I will also pop it in the YouTube just in case someone's interested. It's just the Brisbane one, but at least it'll give you an idea of wherever your consulate may be if you're in a different state, what to do. So I actually emailed his passport and the application, and then they replied within 24 hours and they said, you've sent it to the wrong email address, this is the correct one. And I thought, wow, that's a really big difference in reply if it's actually relevant to what you need to do. So I'm assuming they just ignored me because I sent an Australian passport through, but because the British passport is actually relevant, I needed to get it to the correct place. So I then sent his passport off to the correct email address, which again, I'll pop up here. So if anyone needs it. I'm also happy to help anyone through, actually I might pop not with our proper details on it, I might actually put a picture of what the application looks like and what you actually need to fill in for it, if that's helpful to anyone. So I sent that off, that would have been, probably only 3 or 4 days ago now. So by the time, so whatever that time frame is, it's only been just over a week. So now, fingers crossed, the next thing we do is just get notified that we have a Codice Fiscale, or there's some sort of reply one way or the other. Now, all is not lost if we can't get it ourselves. Dave will do it. Obviously, there's a cost involved. He did mention in one of his videos and in person when we're over there in October that it has become very time consuming and it's just a little more difficult to do. I don't know if that's because there's this sudden influx of interest into Italy or whatever it might be, but he has said that it is quite time consuming. So he can do that. So all is not lost. What I would rather do is be proactive myself and see if I can sort that out, for us at no cost, before having to pay someone else to do it. We could potentially go over there in person. I really wish that we'd thought about doing that in October. But by the same token, I kind of feel like, what would we have done? I can't speak Italian. We maybe have Google Translate. So I'm not sure how far we would have got by ourselves if we just walked into wherever it is you have to walk into to get a Codice Fiscale when you're in Italy. So we definitely would have had to have someone who spoke Italian anyway. So either way, I think we do it this way in Australia, or we're going to have to lean on, a home in Italy to look after that for us. They have loads of cool stuff that they'll do for you, so you don't even have to worry about it. But if there's anything that I can do myself just to kind of cut out the middleman, then, I'm happy to do it. So I'll keep you updated on the Codice Fiscale. And if we get one, or if we never hear from them again, I'm going to give them a month. I don't know if I want to spend hours of my life trying to get through on the phone again, because that was an exercise in frustration. So we'll see. I'll keep you all updated, but I just thought it was an interesting thing to note that if you are on the same journey or you're interested, in starting the journey, I would say the first thing to do is try and track down that Codice Fiscale, because it'll be super helpful if you do find somewhere that you like. You can put an offer in without one, but then you're going to be rushing around going, oh, I need this Codice Fiscale. I can't actually pull the trigger or, get it over the line unless I have one. So anyway, that's today's topic on Codice Fiscale. So I just thought that might be interesting to some people. So thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this content, or you're getting interested or slightly intrigued, then please like, subscribe, follow, share with anyone else you think might enjoy this. So yeah, thanks for following, guys. Thanks for listening. And I'll just keep bringing anything that I think is important or interesting to you as we go. Thanks. Bye.